Today from the global lane, oppressive regimes persecuting people of faith. And this group can do more to help stop it. Free speech on hold on campus, this time preventing a lecture on Islam at the U.S. Army War College. Can Islam be reformed? This former Muslim says no. Find out why. And border battles, drowning in a sea of illegal immigration. How should America treat the little ones? And it's all right here on the global lane. A chilling array of abuses committed by oppressive regimes, violent extremist groups, and individual citizens. That's how U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo described religious freedom around the world as he unveiled his department's 2019 Religious Freedom Report. Iran, Burma, and China are among the worst offenders. Pompeo likened the annual report to a report card for determining how countries rate in safeguarding religious liberties.
For all those that run roughshod over religious freedom, I'll say this: the United States is watching, and you will be held to account.
U.S. law requires that steps be taken against offending nations, everything from denouncing their actions to imposing sanctions. I talked with former Congressman Frank Wolf, a champion of religious liberty around the world. He says religious persecution is growing exponentially, and Christians need to do more to stop it.
Pew survey, which is so accurate, says 80% of the world's population being persecuted, and many of them are Christians, 280, 300 million. I mean, you look at China, Catholic Church under pressure, Protestant Church under pressure, they're arresting them. You look at what's taking place in Nigeria. In Nigeria, 20-some thousand Christians have been killed. Boko Haram is now committing genocide against Christians. The real story, though, is, Gary, why isn't the church in the West speaking out on this? When Chuck Colson was alive, Chuck and the religious community really, for some reason, the church in the West is very, very silent. Here you have, go online and look at it. In fact, see, your network covered it. I saw a report the other day. There's a young girl named Leah, L-E-A-H, 14 years old, captured. Boko Haram says they'll release her if she denies her faith in Christ. She refuses. She's still being held by Boko Haram. In the Bible, Peter denied Christ 3 times. Here's a young 14-year-old girl, and the church in the West has been relatively silent. You remember when the Chibok girls were kidnapped? Almost half of them are still there. The church has been silent. So I think the real story, why isn't the church, with some exceptions, in the West really burdened about this issue about Egypt, about the Nigerian Christians facing genocide in Nigeria with regard to the Christian community in Iraq? Here's Iraq. More biblical activity took there any other place other than Israel. Abraham's from Iraq, Daniel lived in Iraq, Jonah's tomb. The church in the West has been very silent, and it's been a very disappointing.
Congressman Wolf, you've been in this issue for many, many, many years. You're a champion of the issue. You were on Capitol Hill, and have you ever seen it this bad? Has it gotten worse?
No, never seen. No, it's about as bad as it's ever been. I guess the good news is, if you want to find some, is this administration is very, very good. The Trump-Pence administration has been very, very positive. Look what
Mike Pompeo, too.
Mike Pompeo, Ambassador Brownback. I mean, look what they did for Pastor Brunson. Look what they did. They changed the policy. The Christians and Yazidis were being ignored in Iraq. So I think we have probably one of the best administrations on this issue of religious freedom, international religious freedom. And quite frankly, it's a good bipartisan issue. There are a lot of Democrats that are for this. I think the missing link is the church. Where is the church in America? Why, during the 80s, when we put it in the International Religious Freedom, we had the heads of all the denominations. You know, we had Chuck Colson, and we had the National Association of Evangelicals. Where is the church now? And
why do you think that is?
You know, I don't know. I don't know. And I think they're losing the young. If you look at the Barna study, they're losing the Gen X, and they're losing the young, because I think they're seeing, I don't know. I mean, you all would have to tell me, but I think the church in the West is fundamentally failing.
It's the new SUPERBOOK Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and SUPERBOOK episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own SUPERBOOK character. Ta-da! It's the new SUPERBOOK Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at cbnradio.com.
Woohoo! Hi, SUPERBOOK fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new SUPERBOOK Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and SUPERBOOK episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own SUPERBOOK character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new SUPERBOOK Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Free speech stifled. Popular author and expert on Islam and the Middle East, Raymond Ibrahim, is the latest victim of politically correct speech on campus, this time at the U.S. Army War College. Ibrahim is the author of the book Sword and Scimitar, 14 Centuries of War Between Islam and the West. The college postponed his lecture after the Egyptian-American was labeled an Islamophobe, whose rhetoric would, quote, foster white nationalism and war crimes against Muslims in the military. I recently met with Ibrahim in Washington, where he discussed how the Council on American-Islamic Relations and Empower Change convinced the taxpayer-funded institution to cancel his scheduled speech. Raymond, the last time we talked to you, you just released Sword and Scimitar, which is an amazing book based on historic fact. Tell us a little bit about that book and why you were invited to the Army War College.
Sure, Gary. So the book is basically a military history between Islam and the West, from the very first military encounter they had in the year 636 up until 1683, the Siege of Vienna. So you got over 1,000 years right there, but it also spills into America's first war as a nation. Barbary states, essentially North Africa, which was all Islamic as it is now, and they were just attacking American vessels, taking sailors. And when Thomas Jefferson and John Adams met with Barbary's ambassador, and they said, "Why are you doing this? We haven't done anything wrong to you." The ambassador didn't mention grievances. He didn't mention territorial disputes. He didn't mention comic books or anything that's insulting. He said, "Our book, our Quran, teaches us that you, who are not Muslims, are infidels and are our enemies, and it's our duty to kill you, plunder you, enslave you." And so that, what I just told you, kind of encapsulates the entire book. In January, the War College reached out to me by email, and my contact basically read my book. He said he loved it. He wrote very kind words and said it was perfectly suited for his audience, which is War College faculty, staff, and students. And we booked a date. But then on May 28th, CARE, the Council of American Islamic Relations, an organization, as you know, of very dubious background, and we can get into that.
Holy Land Foundation.
Unindicted co-conspirator of the largest terrorist case in American history, Holy Land Foundation, funneling money to Hamas. And that's CARE. And a lot of people don't even know, our allies, such as the UAE, have CARE as a designated terrorist organization, not just the Muslim Brotherhood. CARE by name is a designated terrorist organization on the same list that has ISIS and Al-Qaeda for places like the UAE.
Obama invited them into the White House.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think, and we're seeing a trickle of that still continuing right now. So basically, when CARE got wind, they wrote a very formal letter to the heads of the Army, the War College. And this letter, in retrospect, compared to what came after, which I'll tell you, was measured and rational sounding. It was about, to quote, the deep concern of the Muslim community and the deep disappointment that a prestigious university would have on such a quote-unquote notorious Islamophobe as me to come talk, and et cetera, et cetera. And that letter was published in the media. And the only response the War College did at that time was not respond to CARE, but call me and say, have you seen this? And I said, yes. And they said, we're on. Don't even worry about it. We're still set. We're good to go. I said, okay, this is good. And I think that was on June 5th. The next day, CARE sent out a hysterical screed in the guise of a press release. And also, Linda Sarsour, her group, Empower Change, she created this petition, even more hysterical. And so the long and short of these, the press release and the petition is that I, a man of 100% Egyptian ancestry and heritage, am a racist and a white nationalist, and that the US Army already has a big problem with racism and white nationalism, and that if they go ahead with a talk, I am going to radicalize the American military to the point they're going to go out in the street and start killing Muslims. So it was that hysterical, okay? And when I saw that, and I already knew that the War College had not capitulated to the formal letter, I was like, okay. Then, lo and behold, the next day they called me and they said, so we're postponing the event, an event that we planned 6 months ago and they heavily advertised.
What are they afraid of?
I think CARE is afraid of getting the truth out. The reason they're going after this particular book, which is a history, a military history, what's so dangerous about that, is because up until now, one of the things that the Islamists and the left have had is control of the narrative, the historical narrative. Okay, if you recall in 9/11, after 9/11, the biggest questions were, what went wrong and why do they hate us? Okay, both questions presuppose a historical narrative, which is that the Islamic world, historically, before the pre-modern era, was an advanced, progressive, civilized force, especially vis-a-vis backwards Christian Europe. We have to always say it's something else. It's economics, it's education, it's grievances. We are always looking for a reason. You can't say it's Islam, right? Because it wasn't Islam before. The problem is this book shows, no, it was from the start, from the very beginning, from first contact with Western civilization until the colonial era, which in its context was actually European powers finally going on the counter and defanging the Islamic world. You come to find out that it was all just like ISIS. And so there is no what went wrong or why do they hate us to answer, because it was always like that.
They've always hated us.
Yes, that's what the history shows. And furthermore, because it's a history, it's not my words. This is primary documents. There's over 1,000 citations. I relied on 216, monographs and books and items I translated.
That's never been done before.
It's never been done, right. And so when you look at it, it's all synthesized, one long history, and it's all unwavering, and it all mirrors itself. So there's no more questions, what went wrong, why do they hate us, why is ISIS doing this?
What do you want the average American to know about this, and why should they be concerned?
There's an attack on free speech for a reason, because free speech is going to open your mind and you're going to see the truth. If I don't speak in front of the War College, and if anyone at the War College is listening to me, the book has everything you need, more than I could have said, because it's all there, it's all documented, and it's 352 pages, comprehensive. I invite anyone to read it, and anyone who wants to debate me is free to debate me. And anyone who thinks they can find anything wrong in it is free to do so. But look at what historians have said about my book, actual professional military historians, historians of Spanish history, historians of the Crusades. So educate yourself, one hand, and on the other hand, let's hope that free speech doesn't keep getting stifled.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the Sleep Doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
Roman soldiers destroy the Second Temple of Jerusalem. Centuries of eyewitnesses say the temple treasures survived. But where are they?
They went from Jerusalem to Rome, Rome to Carthage, Carthage to Byzantium.
Historians are silent about what happened to it next.
This is a bad omen.
Hosted and narrated by Gordon Robertson.
So does it still exist today?
CBN Documentaries presents a story of mystery.
Where is it?
Calamity. Most of the victims were butchered. And destiny.
The possibility to dig is impossible.
Take a journey to find Treasures of the Second Temple, a CBN Documentaries presentation, coming July 8th.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Reform means improving something that is corrupt. Many people around the world say Islam needs someone who will reform the faith like Martin Luther did with the Catholic Church. I recently attended the 10th Annual Coptic Solidarity Conference in Washington, D.C., where that topic was discussed by a panel of experts. So can Islam be reformed? Here's former Muslim, Christian television host, Brother Rashid.
It's like saying bringing Islam to its original shape, to a working shape. What if the original shape was not working? What if it was deformed from the start, from the beginning? It was born deformed. You cannot reform something that was born deformed. And here we go to some problems that were mentioned by our panelists here. There are 4 mistakes. Those who believe in Reformation, they have 4 fundamental misunderstandings. First, they assume that all religions are the same. They are good in their core belief. They are born good, and they are for the good of humanity. But later on the course of history, they have been changed or altered by politicians, by different people, and that's what made them evil. They put Christianity with Buddhism, with Islam, everything in one basket. And that's wrong. We cannot approach religions with the same mentality. They are not the same. Let's say Christianity was practiced by the first apostles and the first disciples. Islam was practiced by the first Muslim community. What if the first community was violent? So bringing Islam to its first shape is actually, that's what we call Wahhabism and Salafism. And it will not give us a better results. It will give us probably a disaster. The second problem is comparing Islam to Christianity. Since the Reformation was successful with Christianity, either through Protestants or through Catholics, because there are Catholic Reformation as well. So because it was successful, then it must be successful with Islam. Well, that has an assumption that Christianity is like Islam and the West is like the East, and that's not happening. The third problem is the wishful thinking. I wish that Islam can be reformed. I hope, I pray. But is it going to happen? That's a different story. People in the West, they wish that Islam can be reformed. And because they have this wishful thinking, they want it to happen, and they encourage everybody who says, I am a reformist. I want to reform Islam. The idea of reforming something is easier than confronting the whole thing. So since it's easier, we prefer reformation. Confrontation is not welcome, especially in the West. A person like me, we are labeled as bigots, haters. Why? Because we confront the problem. To tell 1.5 billion that your religion has a problem in the root. It's not cosmetic. It didn't happen through history. It's from the beginning, and you have to deal with it. That's a hard message. Not everybody willing to embrace it. The fourth problem is we have some reformists, and we think they are going to reform Islam. Do they have at least one mosque? You can call it a reformist mosque. Do they have a reformed Quran? Do they have a reformed hadith? A reformed biography? Zero. They didn't change, they are not changing the Muslim world. They are changing the Western world. How to deal with it then? Well, there are some solutions. One of them, it's happening actually. Until 1961, slavery was allowed in the Muslim world. We didn't reform Islam to change slavery. We just forced the Muslim world to follow the international laws to abandon slavery. How did we achieve that? In Egypt, for example, they don't stone somebody who committed adultery. They don't cut the hands of a thief. They put him in jail. In Morocco, the same thing. How did we achieve that? By forcing them to follow the international laws. By disabling those texts. If you want to pray to your God using those texts, you're welcome. Go do it. But you cannot apply it on the ground. Because it's inhumane. It's not welcomed internationally. So how are we going to achieve it? By forcing Muslim countries to embrace the international human rights. By separation between the state and religion. By respecting religious freedom. They are not going to attain it through reformation, but by countries like United States making Muslim world submit to the international community.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
As members of Congress debate emergency funding measures to address the U.S. border crisis, this tragic photo is making the rounds on social media. It's an image of two immigrants who allegedly drowned attempting to enter the United States. Some people say they were killed by smugglers. Regardless of what happened to that Salvadoran man and his child, the truth is, America is drowning in the sea of illegal migration. Many Democrats say a real crisis doesn't exist. President Trump is creating one. But did the president cause 133,000 migrants to be apprehended coming across the U.S. southern border in May? That was about 4,300 people each day. Democrats are also saying it's time to stop children from being separated from their families. But 370 per day are unaccompanied minors, separated from their families before illegally entering the United States. It's not those evil ICE agents who are doing that. Other children are brought here by adults who are not their relatives. Did you know that at least 20,000 children are trafficked into the U.S. each year from Mexico? Many for purposes of sexual slavery. Unaccompanied minors and children trafficked for sex. That's the real humanitarian crisis at the border. Immigration and Customs Enforcement must make sure that children are returned to their biological parents. And that takes time. It's not a simple process. During the recent emergency funding debate, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi expressed concern about the treatment of migrant children at U.S. detention facilities.
Last week, the Trump Department of Justice argued in court that the government should not have to provide children in custody with soap, toothbrushes, or beds. This situation is child abuse. It is an atrocity that violates every value we have, not only as Americans, but as moral beings.
So I guess she's now admitting there is a crisis. Don't you wish the House Speaker and her party would be equally concerned for unborn children? Just saying. But I agree with the Speaker. Migrant children are at risk, and it began when their parents placed them at risk by bringing them on the long, harsh journey to the United States, either with them, unaccompanied, or with human traffickers. But folks, we don't have to perpetuate their suffering. We have a responsibility to make sure that they are treated humanely while they're being processed. Jesus warns us against mistreating children. In Luke 17, verse 2 and 3, he says, "It would be better to be thrown into the sea with a millstone tied around your neck than to cause one of these little ones to stumble. So watch yourselves." Yes, it seems the United States of America already has one big millstone around its neck: illegal immigrants, at least 1.5 million per year. How can the nation sustain that? We can't. So let's watch ourselves and avoid millstones in the way we treat migrant children and in the way we address this immigration crisis. The time is now for Congress to act, to work with the president, and may God save us all from drowning. Well, that's it from the Global Lane. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Twitter. And until next time, be blessed.